to the young, to the old, to the tall, to the short and the stout. This is Del K. Brereton, the brown skin assassin, shooting never passing, coming to you from Brampton, Ontario, on the freeway, driving a freeway of information into your brain. This is he, the never duplicated, never simplified version of Del K. Brereton. I listen to everybody, and to all the Cyclopses that are in the building, to my Hebrew mentor in the Hebrew language, Dr. David Israel, and all those around the world. Adonai Skincare, we didn't forget about you. I want to have a conversation with you today. It came to my mind yesterday. I thought about this show last night, and I was having a conversation with my friend, my darling friend. Big up to the Bajans, Nuffy in the building. But she said, man, back in the day when I was growing up and I had to fight off all those racists. And I reflected on that. I said, oh man, the good old days. The good old days when the racists were simply just, ignorant people who were just getting used to having an experience around black people. And you had to fight them. Like, you had to physically fight them. You had fights all the time. The N-word flying around all over the place. And, you used to fight people. Literally fight people. And, that was back in the day when white people weren't really afraid to fight black people. It's kind of different now. But I remember the days. When I was growing up, these French-Canadian little boys, they were brothers. There was 3 of them. And I was in kindergarten, but I was a very big kindergarten kid. I was a big kid. I've been a big kid my whole life. I was a kindergarten kid, and literally because of my size and intelligence, they wanted to put me into the 3rd grade, but my mother would not allow it. She said, no, leave him at his grade level where he can excel. I don't want him to be normal. I want him to excel at his grade level. Leave him there. So I was really a kindergarten the size of a kid in about grade 3. So I used to go to school with my 1, 2, 3 girl cousins. And every day we used to come across these little French-Canadian white kids in Canada. And the oldest boy, the brother of them all, he would stop us, and it was an everyday thing from kindergarten, 5 years old now. And I had just come to Canada. Probably 2 years before, from Trinidad and Tobago. And this boy would stop us, and he would say, you got to fight my brothers to pass. Right? Because he knew he was too big to fight me. He was too big. He was probably grade 6. I'm in kindergarten. His brothers are probably in grade 1 or 2. I don't know. They were like runts of the litter. So he was harassing a little black boy walking with 3 black girls to school every day. And he said, you got to fight to pass. And so he used to line me up against the kid who was my height out of his brothers, and I had to fight that brother. Well, I mean, I didn't have any formal fighting training or anything. I'm 5 years old. No real dad in my life. My cousins, the girl cousins, their uncle was really my dad figure. Big up to Uncle Patsy, baddest man on the planet. But I used to whoop that little boy just about every day until he got tired of me whooping that brother. And then he promoted me to the next brother. That brother was a little bit bigger, but thank goodness I had practiced whooping his little brother. So by the time I got to dealing with him, I had some new tricks up my sleeve. At that time, my favorite boxer was, I had 2 favorite boxers. It was Sugar Ray Leonard and it was Muhammad Ali. So I had a lot of Ali and Sugar Ray in me at 5 years old, baby. I was dancing around, prancing around, pow, stinging him from a distance. And I used to wear him out too. And it got to the point that he got so tired of me beating up his little brothers that he challenged my oldest cousin, girl cousin. Well, you shouldn't have done that. because she's the toughest one in the family. She was the toughest one in the family. Big up to Beverly Brereton, the Golden Gloves champion of Mississauga, baby. Woo! The purple poncho. That's what she used to wear. She used to wear a purple poncho. She wore that French boy out. And the funny part is, the whole school watched that fight. That was an epic affair right there, because he didn't cut us off. He challenged her in the schoolyard, and she wasn't having it. And the whole school, because he was apparently the toughest kid in grade 6, and she was the real toughest kid in grade 6. And Beverly Brereton wore him out. She was the toughest kid I knew, and I was pretty tough. That girl was tough. Older cousin Beverly Brereton. And so that was our experience with racism when we were young. We used to also have to engage in the Archie Bunkerisms of life and dealing with, the quote unquote racist that didn't know they're racist. People that called you colored and, still refer to you as Negroes. And we had to deal with those individuals. We also had to deal with racism in the media that was just overt. And it's like this particular thumbnail I have up here, Gone with the Wind, and watching these kind of shows that, exemplified how, that was American whites, but how they really saw black people and what they thought black people were actually purposed in life was to serve them or to help them out. And at any time they did a little bit for a black person, it was like, hey, come on, let me give you a little helping hand. We were there to entertain them and to serve them and these kind of things. And growing up like that, you had that so-called media demonstration of the good Negro, and then of course we had our obscure scenarios of the upstart black person that we weren't sure if we were supposed to be. We weren't sure if we were supposed to be the Muhammad Ali that would not go to Vietnam. We were not sure if we were supposed to be fans of Malcolm. And, we were not sure if we were supposed to be individuals who could say, we're proud of the Black Panther Party. So we weren't positive whether or not these so-called radical blacks were people that we were allowed to be. But something on the inside of us felt real proud when we saw them stand up to the things that we knew were wrong and oppressive. And we were not foreigners to racism at the school, racism at the workplace. I remember coming to Quebec, Canada, and my mother had me at a very young age, so she looked young. And they used to say, look at the little N-word with her little brother. And I would look at my mom. I didn't know what that word meant right away, but I knew I didn't like it. And those French Canadians, they were very nice. They were very nice. I had lots of fights before I even got to the 5-year-old fights. I was fighting at 3, and it wasn't my fault. I was sitting there. The little French Canadian boys wanted to push me off the swing, wanted to call me a baby, spit in my face. My mother would be like, punch him back, spit back on him. It was a fight, and she would challenge me from the time I came to Canada, from the time I landed on this frozen piece of tundra. The messaging from Cynthia Brereton was, if any of these little white children hit you, you hit them back 10 times as hard to let them know never to do that again. Messaging number 1. I know we don't say that stuff now. That doesn't sound right to you now. But that's what they had to tell us then, because we would have got our heads kicked in. If you have to go to school not to just study to pass, you have to be 10 times better to be equal. That's what my mother used to tell me. I don't know if you grew up like that. You have to be 10 times better to be equal. That's what she used to tell me. At 6 years old, I was reading law books. She didn't bring me the little grade 1 school books. She didn't give me those books to read. She brought me law books. To this day, that old lady says, "You're supposed to be a lawyer. You were supposed to be a lawyer. You know how advanced you were?" To this day, she tells me that. "I was bringing you law books to read." She didn't give me grade 1, grade 2. I wasn't reading that. When I got to kindergarten, I was reading at a grade 3 or 4 level. They didn't know what to do with me. First of all, they put me, because I was a black kid, they put me in the remedial class. That's a class for kids who don't know how to speak English. And then, once the teacher actually asked me to read in open, because I was the only black kid in the class, so she felt, don't bother him. When she asked me to read in the open, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, the words that we're having to help the other kids on, he knows those words fluently." Then she kept giving me different books and realized, oh, this kid shouldn't be in kindergarten. He's reading at a grade 3 level. We had to deal with all of those things when we were young. And I call it old racism. And I'm telling you right now, ladies and gentlemen, old racism is better than the new racism. And I know I'm giving you guys time speaking about this because I wanted to see some of the comments, because the new racism is the racism that tells you this: oh, everything's a racist. Everything's a race issue for these people. That's the new racism. Oh man, everything's about race with you blacks. That's the new racism. The old racism, like I said, is better than you new racists. And let me tell you something about who the old racists are. People like Margaret Sanger. You know who that is? Margaret Sanger is the woman who started Planned Parenthood. Her agenda, you can read about it, I can't make it up, was to make sure of the annihilation of the Negro race. It's one of her sentences, one of her statements. She wanted to make sure that the population of the Negro did not rise to a large extent to overwhelm the white population in America. That's old racism. Old racism is the Tuskegee experiment, putting syphilis inside of black people to see what it would do. And I'm here to let you know again, the old racism is better than the new racism. Because the old racism, that was some archaic, barbaric stuff. But the new racists are worse. I'm going to tell you why they're worse in a minute. Old racism created science, anthropology. There are anthropological books that you can still get in the library today that tell you that the cranium and the brow and the lower capacity of the Negroid does not allow him to learn at the same level as the Caucasian. The Negro or the Negroid does not have the capacity to do higher brain functioning things. You remember these books? They were around. They were actually scientific truth in the 70s. The 70s, forget about when they were actually written in the 19th century. They were scientific truth in the 70s. I used to look in these books and be like, oh wow, I'm a different type of human being. I'm not a Caucasian. Oh, Indian people are Caucasians. I didn't know they were Caucasians. Indian people originally, the Browns, the folks who call themselves brown, you guys call the Latinos brown in America, but in Canada, the Indians are considered brown people. And they were Caucasians. In the 19th century, they considered Indians Caucasians because they sure didn't want to be Negroes. And so these things were part of the old racist regimes. And I'm here to tell you right now, new racism is worse than that. It's worse than that. So let me explain it. Let me get into what the new racists are. New racism has come full circle in this particular moment in time where the telling of the truth has become enemy number one to the Caucasian mentality all over the world. And it's not just the West. Telling white European individuals who claim the title of Jewishness, telling them that they are not the Aboriginal people of the book is a hate crime. It is anti-Semitism. To tell a Japhetic, non-Semitic person that he is Japhetic in his ancestry, similar to how they used to tell black people that we were not 100% human, which is a lie, but actually historically tracing the ancestry of people who are European, who could never have been sub-Saharan Africans, who historically know that the emergence to their new Judaistic religion came in about the 8th century, to tell them their history, to relay to them peacefully and lovingly the truth. That is a hate crime, punishable by having your endorsements pulled, your YouTube station pulled down. It is an absolute shutdown of your life if you simply tell a Jewish European that you can worship the Mosaic God, but please remember that you are a convert, that you are not the individuals who are ancestral to the book. That's all we're telling you. Can't say that. Can't say that. New racism rewrites the truth. Old racists didn't care about black history. They didn't care about black people. It was all, yeah, you have a wonderful history. Don't you got a guy named Benjamin Banneker? You got some great people in your history because they started black history during slavery or post-slavery. Black history for them is something of a nostalgic story of when blacks came via the Middle Passage to North America. That's black history. Black history wasn't Mansa Musa or Abu Bakr the First, individuals you should look up. Black history wasn't the indigenous Nigerian Igbo tribes, and black history wasn't stories like we read about or we saw in one of my favorite movies, La Amistad, of how blacks had the capacity to circumnavigate the globe by watching the stars. That black history wasn't we built the pyramids. That wasn't black history. Up until the 90s, people are still, History Channel still saying, you know, black history or the pyramids, were they built by aliens? You know? So the new racism is insidious to many levels. It's insidious on extreme levels. Project 2025. That's new racism. New racism doesn't stop at black people, thank God. Thank God you new racists have moved on. You new racists, you're not wasting time with blacks anymore because, you know, you like too many of us. You got too many of us hung on your wall, you listen too much of our music, you're wearing our shirts, our shoes, etc., our brands, you're attending our parties. Did he? You're listening to too much of our music, R. Kelly. Like you've moved on. You found other people to be racist against. Thank goodness. Woof. We've been carrying that for far too long. All right, you moved on to the Mexicans. You Mexicans are, I told y'all a few videos ago, you Mexicans are a whole lot of trouble. You guys have moved on to the Palestinians. And you've moved on to the Lebanese and the Syrians. You moved on. You moved on to the Chinese. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. Wow. Because black people have been carrying, we've been carrying that a long time on our backs. It's like you guys had nobody to be racist against except us. You've moved on. You've declared it's not racism. It's just America first. New racism is in your face. It's telling you straight. We do not acknowledge your delivery of what you consider to be accurate information. New racism wants to go in and rip out your curriculums out of the school. The old racists used to send armed guards to help integrate blacks. Remember that? They said integration. Old racism was about integration. They felt that if they allowed black people to assimilate into white society, they would be less dangerous. And they felt that segregation was a danger to white people. Do not get it twisted and believe that white people all over America felt that integration was something to help black people. Please don't get that twisted. That's not the truth. The purpose of integration was for assimilation. That has been true of empire building all through time. The way that you dominate a culture is you allow them to assimilate into your culture, wear your clothes, speak your language, eat your food. The book of Daniel at the very beginning is all about that, where the Babylonians took the southern kingdom of Judah and had these Hebrew boys, Hebrew children, learning to eat the king's meat. Some of y'all running around talking about, oh, I'm going on a Daniel fast. I'm going on a Daniel fast because, of course, you have now bought into the evangelical Caucasian version of what was happening, when that's not what was happening. What was happening in the story of Daniel was that the black Babylonians wanted to assimilate these black Hebrews into their culture by changing their names, right? By changing their diet, thereby eliminating their cultural norms, by changing their systems of worship, bow down to the gods that we set up, and assimilating them, taking the advantage of the wealth of their information, their knowledge, and assimilating them into the culture. This principle is how you destroy a people. So segregation was terrible for white America because it meant that a bunch of foreigners were sitting there learning about themselves, building within themselves, creating culture within themselves, restoring the history within themselves, creating civilization within themselves, and two Americas were going to be built. And they could not have that. They had to destroy segregation, thinking that segregation was good at first, but then they realized, oh no, these brothers and sisters are getting too empowered by themselves. We need to assimilate them. It's better for us. That's what that was about. Integration was about assimilation. It was not about uplifting black people. And so the new context now is that we don't care about the integrating of these people anymore. We don't need, affirmative action. We don't care if they get jobs or if they don't get jobs. We don't care about that anymore. We don't care about that. We're masters of industry. These people should serve us. We're not going to have any more thought processes about this. They're supposed to serve us. This is our country. If they don't want to serve us in our country, they can go somewhere else. And that's one thing that says remain consistent. If you don't like it here, you can go somewhere else. Well, you brought me here. But now that's not the case, right? can go somewhere else. There's lots of places to go in the world other than America. There's lots of places to go in the world other than America to live a better life than America. There is so many. There are so many places to go that you can have a better lifestyle in America. You want me to give you a couple? I can give you a few if you want. You can go to Spain. You got an American passport. You can go live in Spain. Live off of some of those islands in Spain and Portugal. Much lower cost of living. Okay? You can go to Dominican Republic and live a fantastic life right now. Right? Some of y'all have already tried Costa Rica. You can go to Nicaragua and live off the coast on some of those smaller islands. Fantastic life you can have down there. Right? Don't forget Amsterdam, the Netherlands. Lots of blacks over there doing fantastic. You can go to Ghana. Bring your money though. You can have a fantastic life over there. There's so many places that you can go and give it a good old college try and live a much better lifestyle than you do in America. Much better. Much better. Don't talk about, oh, the medicine or talk, no. I was in Ghana. When I needed any kinds of drugs, I went straight to the pharmacy, and the pharmacist could prescribe the same way a GP does in the West. The pharmacist, it would answer a couple questions. They'd say, yeah, I know what's wrong with you. Here, take this. You'll be all right tomorrow. And just like that, just like a general practitioner. I went to the dentist paying nothing. I think I paid $25 for my teeth to be cleaned and for the dentist to do his thing. And most of you guys, when you're doing your surgeries, you ladies, when you're doing your surgeries, your BBLs, your mommy makeovers, you're not staying in America. You're going to Colombia. You're going to Turkey to do all these so-called procedures. So don't talk to me about the health care in America when people are dying sitting in the hospital waiting rooms in both America and Canada. Canada, we have national health care, and you still can't get nothing done. So don't tell me about that. There's no advantage to be in the West any longer. There's no advantage. As long as Amazon is there, as long as an Uber app functions in that country like Ghana or everywhere else that I've traveled, there's no advantage. The disadvantage is the arrogance of the American, the absolute arrogance that they are better than everybody else. That is an arrogance that is going to wake them up one day with the Taliban sitting in their living room talking about your time has come. It's going to wake them up one day where Russians are sitting in their living room, North Koreans are sitting in their living room, where people from Burkina Faso are marching into your cities. It's going to wake you up. It's going to wake you up one day. The nonsense of the West those chickens have to come home to roost. America's not first in line though. Don't worry. You guys may have time. I'm like Jonah. You're Nineveh. But the first people that are going to pay are people like France. France is first in line. If you have a butt to kick for historical racism, the French, then probably the Belgians, the French, those French folk too, they're French. But anybody French, they're first in line. So you don't gotta worry. You Americans, you North Americans, don't worry. You'll have time to repent, because they're gonna if there was a lineup that people had to say, if people had to wake up from the dead and say who should be first in line to be punished for the decimation and for the decimation of peoples of color all over the world, who should that be? Is this a left-hand turn lane? This is very strange. It's definitely the French. It's definitely the French. The French are definitely first. Then you probably got to line up those Spanish first, because the Spanish were horrible. And then you might have to go and get the Arabs before they even come to you, British folk. You folks from British, Scotland, and Ireland, you guys might be fourth in line. Don't worry, you got time. You got time to get it together. The new racism, again, isn't limited to even English white people. I'm going to let you whites off the hook. You can exhale and say, oh my God, thank God he's not talking about us only. Absolutely, we can't be talking about you only. Just the other day, I think in 2018, the Lebanese people were still enslaving Africans. Still had Africans enslaved in Libya. Did I say Lebanese? I meant Libyan. Excuse me. In Libya. They had to fly Africans out of Libya because the vacuum of Gaddafi created madness over there. Libya, you're not by yourself. Qatar today are enslaving Africans in Qatar. They are. They brought them into Qatar under false pretenses. Come to Qatar. Come and work. There's no taxes. Come. We need you guys. Come. And they get them to come to Qatar as domestics. Right? They come to Qatar as domestics. Even if they're engineers. They get a domestic visa or they get a chauffeur visa. And these visas, the actual person who sponsors you has the power to let you leave the country or not. They hold your passport. They literally can tell you cannot leave. They literally can tell you can't leave unless we let you leave. The kind of visa that you got is a domestic visa. So if you're hurried up, like most Africans are, to get someplace just to get there and to start working, but you don't want to wait for the right visa, you don't realize you're selling yourself into slavery. Because if you go to Qatar on a domestic visa, that man, your boss, he holds your passport, you can't get it back, you can't leave the country until he tells you. Like I said, baby, that new racism, it hits different. It hits way different. It's not just a bunch of rednecks in America, hillbillies in America, calling you names. It is worldwide. It has gone out worldwide. And you have slept on it. I talked about yesterday about a Saudi Arabian rich gentleman who brought over a black girl to, of course, sexual trafficked her and then asked her to eat his excrement. That stuff is bizarre. And this is the worst part. This is the last part about the new racism. We are complicit with it. Yeah? We've allowed it. We let it continue to happen. We actually help it along. We are MAGA hat wearing it. We are Kodak blacking it. Yeah. We are actually participant in it. We actually are. We are participant in it. We are so ignorant of its devices. We have abandoned. Let me tell you what black people have abandoned that has helped precipitate racism in current modern day communities. You're going to hate the first one. We've started to say that Christianity is a white man's religion. Started with that. You started to say that the Bible is something that was given to you to manipulate you. That's what you did. You did that to yourselves. When any tertiary look at history can let you know that there is not one single white author in the Bible. Any grade 5 Google attempt, grade 4 history project can let you know that the Bible is a black man's handy book. It's always been. But you have adopted a mentality that religion doesn't belong to you. And therefore you have divorced yourself of the golden opportunity of learning your own history, of learning concepts to take you out of a position of hegemony, because you have divorced the knowledge of the oldest book of literature specifically targeted and pointed at your upliftment in the world. That's number one. You have been secularized. You have been assimilated out of your faith. Absolutely. You have been secularized. When Africans came here from West Africa, they were a combination of Christian, Muslim, and Mosaic, Hebrew. They were a combination of all those three. Very few followed their paganist religions, because Africa was Christianized from the 1st century. Read the book of Acts, chapter 8. Okay? Very early, Africa was exposed to Mosaic law. Exposed to that when they broke out, they were exposed to that. They're exposed to Judaism for a very long time. They're exposed to Christianity from the 1st century. So no one came here howling at the wind. They were exposed to Islam from the 7th century. Okay, so you didn't come here as a pagan. You came here with the knowledge of your God, clearly. And you have been secularized. To see atheists, to see a black atheist is like looking at a unicorn. It's like looking at a unicorn with wings. It's like looking at a polka dot unicorn with wings and 4 eyes and 6 tails. It shouldn't exist. It shouldn't exist. Your history is too rich with God, with stories about empires that impacted and reached out to the gods that you serve. Your history is too rich of being world powers for you to be this dumb, and for you to be participant so much in a European culture. We had our awakening moments. We had our afro wearing, dashiki wearing moments, but it seems like those moments have faded. I have come across so many, and I love to refer to them as this because it's what they are, uppity Negroes, who truly believe. I met a gentleman years ago, happened to be the father of somebody that I was connected with, I'll use that term lightly, that believed that none of his black children should marry black people because he wanted to have a multitude of ethnicities in his family, and took a lowbrow approach to his daughter marrying a black man, and helped destroy that relationship as much as he could. We have too many individuals who hate themselves in our community. We hate ourselves. We don't uplift ourselves to become better versions of ourselves. In fact, the richer versions of us, we basically uplift ourselves to do exactly what white people did to us, in America at least, to the Lebanese doing to us, and to all the peoples all over the world have done to us. Most of the victims of these alleged sex offenders that America creates as much as anywhere else, these entertainment sex offenders, they victimize people that look like themselves. That's a difference with us. The slave owner, that plantation owner, he wasn't victimizing people that look like him. But we victimize people that look like us. That means you're a participant in your own oppression. You heard what I'm saying, P. Diddy, wherever you are? R. Kelly, wherever you're sitting right now, you heard me, bro? You victimize the little girls from your own community. You victimize families that think that you're their hero. You victimize people that look like yourself. And so the new racism is even more insidious because it empowers me to victimize me. And then when we speak about it, the lower brow Caucasians tell us we have a victim mentality. But the facts of the matter is that the new racism is now policy. It's going to be policy. It's going to be policy. And it's going to be harder and harder and harder and harder for men like myself to say this to you. Because the left would sit down and they would listen. Oh my goodness, we've been so terrible. We've got to let him speak. Speak your truth. That's what the left would do. The right now is saying, we don't want to hear that no more. If he's talking the truth, it's leftist. This leftist crap where these blacks think that they're victims, we've given them everything. We've done everything we can for them. And they still think that we're oppressing them. That's what you're going to hear right now. We're not asking you to do anything. I'm not asking you to do anything. I didn't ask you to give me one reparation, bro. Not one reparation did I need from you. You owe it to us, but I don't need it from you. I just need you to get out of my way. That's it. I can take it myself. I don't need you to get out of my way. I don't need you to do nothing. I can build it myself. And if I can't build it, a brother that looks like me, sounds like me can build it. And guess what? I don't mind if you build it too. As long as you don't think that once you build it, it belongs to you. I don't mind. I just need you to get out of the doggone way. I just need you to understand once and for all that I am equal. That's it. That's the hardest thing to tell individuals all over the world. I am equal. That Israeli does not believe that Palestinian is equal. He doesn't believe it. He doesn't believe that I'm equal. That Israeli, let me take you white folks off the hook in America. The Israeli doesn't believe that I am equal. He doesn't believe it. It's part of his conditioning. It's part of his Talmudic training. He doesn't believe he's equal. I'm equal. He believes that he is actually me. That's the crazy part. He believes he's me. And then he believes I'm not equal. Now you have some left-leaning guys who say, that's not me. I don't believe like that. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. But you say, hey, well, do you realize that you're a convert? That's not, you're not. Oh, that's not true. That I have Cohen genes. It's demonstrated that my people come from Aaron. How? How do you come from people that you have no tribal biological DNA connection with and never interacted with? How? How is it possible? Sorry, I'm just becoming anti-Semite. I didn't mean to. I was just trying to talk about history. I'm not trying to be anti-Semitic. Kyrie said, how can it be? But that's the difference between the new racism and the old racism. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm terribly sorry that you just had to listen to that from a little simple old country boy. And YouTube, if you want to take this down, you can take it down. We can speak the truth anywhere. But the truth is the truth. You hear what I'm saying? The truth will always be the truth. Let me see what your comments are. Then I'll let you go. I'll let you run home. I'll let you run back to the places where people like me aren't allowed to speak, where the truth is hidden in libraries that a lot of people that look like me don't like to find. I'll let you run back to those places. I'll let you run back to the safety of the inoculation of the assimilation that you've been given. I'll let you run back to your slave name. I'll let you run back to the place where you're saying, you know what, I've got a good white boss and he takes good care of me and I've been okay since I've been here. So I don't know what you're talking about, Brereton. I'll let you run back to that, but let me take a look at your statements. Can you focus more into the camera, please? I'm almost done. I'm sorry, Hulk. I'm driving. It's called a live drive, Hulk. I got to look at the road, baby. Was there bullying at your time? Yes, there was bullying. We got bullied. But I used to beat up the bully sometime. Who's behind you? Pat? I don't know what that means. Good morning, brother. Hey, Black Panther X, what's going on, bro? All praises to Yahweh. Amen. New racism in the refinement stage. Yes, I like that. According to who? Neely Fuller. I like that. Earthings versus the universe. Earthlings versus the universe. I'm a manifest sapien. You still live in America? No, I moved back to Canada. Hi from Greece, and they treat those poor Africans like crap. Because of the females are willing to do this mess. And have you had anxiety? Adolf Putin. Adolf, how dare you call me by my full government name and spell it wrong? Hold on, let me get through this light. I'm almost home here. This Adolf. I tried to call you Adolf, but it's Adolf, right? You might call me by my full government name and still spelled it wrong. The audacity. Come on now. It means you've been looking me up, but you haven't been looking me up properly because you didn't spell my proper government name. Open you doggone thing. All right. Let me take a look here, and then I can go back inside and relax myself. See what y'all folks are saying. Give me a second. This is the closing and the winding down of the spiel. Okay, here we go. Your favorite blondie, hello. Ethiopia has the oldest church. Joy are amazing. We are all brothers under Trump. May we all prosper. I love that. I love that sentence. That was actually good. We are all brothers under Trump. May we all prosper. You know what? I hope that's true. I hope that's true for y'all. I guess that's why they call it a holy war. Truth is truth. Grand Rising. Check for those who check for you. What's up, bro? Do you think racism is normal? Yes. That's a great question to end with. I do think racism is normal because racism is based on fear. It's based on the fear of people that don't look like you, sound like you. You don't know their agenda. It is normal to be cautious about a foreign group. But what is not normal is to enslave, oppress, and commit genocide on a group, and then think that you're not going to have repercussions when that group rises up. And so racism in America is the realization that there is going to be a pushback from a group that you've imprisoned, that you've kidnapped, that you've kept ignorant, and you want to make sure that those repercussions never happened. And so the racism in America is to make sure that you cover your sins, and to make sure that the oppressed never rise up. So it makes total sense, because you're terrified of if those people ever rise up, because you know what you've done. That's what racism in America looks like. But racism is very normal. It's absolutely normal. And that's why you need dialogue, conversation, in order to break down the walls of what racism does. Racism is people who say, I want to conquer them. I want their land. I want their property. I want their women. And I want to make them mine. And that's the conquest of basically every single civilization since Nimrod to now, right? Blessings. I'll subscribe here. I like this message. Thank you very much, Brandon. Take it easy, everybody. Again, I talked to everybody about Thursday. Thursday is my seminary study day, so I'm going to go live again tonight at 7 p.m. Every Thursday night, coming from Emmanuel Church of Jesus Christ Apostolic. So hopefully you guys will be able to see that too. But thank you very much for joining the spiel. This is Del K. Brereton, the brown skin assassin, shooting, never passing, the mouth from the holy north, the king of the north. We'll talk soon. All right. Blessings, everybody. And I appreciate you hanging in there with me. Bye-bye.